Mike didn't know this.
We are live.
Welcome to the Undercard Supercast for July 15th, 2014. I am your host, founder, editor, and egregious all-star snub of Undercard Superstar, Luke Irwin. Joining me tonight, he's known at the dojo as Mr. Participation Certificate, Ben Cohn. He's known across underground fighting ranks as Fresh Carp, Dan Galvan. Coming to us live wearing nothing from the waist down but a smile, Earl Montclair. Next to him, Arislandi Lara aggression coach, Josh Hall. He saw the purge but didn't care for it, as there was no one knocking over a Dollar Tree for 3 liters of Stars and Stripes Loopy Limon, Nolan Howell. Dateline Las Vegas, Nevada. Since this weekend was thinner than Leanne Rhymes at a Coke brunch, we'll cut right to the meat of it. Saul Canelo Alvarez takes on Arislandi Lara on Saturday. The ruling was a split decision for Canelo. Who did you have it for, and was Lara robbed? Dan Galvan.
I didn't score the fight officially because of the nature of the fight. Some of the closer rounds, my attention kind of lapsed, so I didn't feel like I should make a call. Granted, I think the same thing happened with the judge that gave Canelo the 117 scorecard. That seems kind of ridiculous to me that Canelo had won that many more rounds than Lara. I didn't think it was an awful decision per se at all. But I did think it was kind of a typical decision. Any close fight you would think would go Canelo's way. That's what happened. The fight itself was pretty uninspiring, and I really have no motivation or any inspiration to see a rematch between the two. But I did come away thinking that Lara was on the same level as Canelo. It just was a boring fight.
You said before that you thought one fighter was stupid.
Oh, one scorecard was stupid. That 117 scorecard was... I mean, it was a given-based combat sports judging is, about the same level as the Texas education standard. So I expect that from somebody from Texas, but not someone that's supposed to be paid to judge the highest level of boxers. And that was a terrible scorecard.
Josh, we watched the fight. I believe you had it. Go ahead.
I don't have the round-by-round breakdown on me, but I had it 6 rounds to 5 rounds to 1. With one 10-10 round that was scored for Lara. But by the same token, I said as the fight was going on that in 2 of the rounds that I scored it for him, I could very easily see him having pissed it away by going completely inactive in the last 2 minutes of the round after looking really good to start. And so it doesn't surprise me that the judges went the way they did. There always seems to be one wonky scorecard in Canelo fights, and so you're pretty much guaranteed of that. But if Lara was just a little more aggressive, in 1 round, he doesn't lose the fight. It's a draw. If he's slightly more aggressive in 2 rounds, he wins the fight. He wasn't robbed. He lacked activity at the wrong times, and he paid for it on the cards. Whether I scored it for him or not, calling that fight a robbery is a joke.
Yeah.
Some say Arislandi Lara is still dancing to this day. It was beautiful to watch early. How Canelo just looked like a plodding old man, and Lara was so quick on the feet. His defense was so good. His footwork was so fantastic. But as the rounds went on, he didn't have that lateral movement anymore, and instead he just looked like he was floating. Like he was almost doggy paddling in the deep end, trying to look for any sort of corner to grab onto. He was even asked pretty much point blank in the post-match interview, if you were a little more aggressive, if you had done a little bit more, would that have benefited you? And he took it kind of he bristled it. Josh is right too in that Canelo's body shots over time wore down Lara, and over a 12-round fight that'll happen. He was more concerned with trying to maybe, I don't want to say he was trying to clown Alvarez, but he wanted to show how much better he was on the feet and how quick he was. But the problem when you're doing that against Saul Alvarez, where you might only get him to land a few, but Canelo's a puncher, and he'll make those shots count.
Do you think he did more damage with the body work than Lara did with all of his combinations? I felt like he did. Even though I scored the fight for Lara, I thought that he took more damage to the body than he gave.
I can see that. And Canelo's always been a guy who'll take 2 to give 1. And I mean, Lara did. I mean, I don't think he really hurt Saul. They looked pretty and they landed well. But I don't know. Like I said, eventually he got slowed down enough to where in those middle rounds he was just giving away rounds. Rounds that I had a few, I think maybe 3 rounds were 10-10. Overall, I had it 117, 114 for Lara. But again, those could have easily gone to Canelo, and all Lara had to do was just throw maybe a couple more combinations. There were some rounds that were so close where if he would just have thrown one more combo, he would have taken, he would have gotten the edge in that round. So. Wasn't a robbery. The one scorecard was kind of ridiculous, but not totally unfounded if you were, that much opposed to Lara's defensive work and opposed to his action in the ring. I've certainly seen worse this year. Dateline, Minneapolis, Minnesota, home of the 2014 Major League Baseball All Star Game. Thus far in this year 2014, who are your starting 9 in the combat landscape? Benjamin.
Are we giving a reason or just naming them?
If you're giving a reason, be very, very, very quick with it. 1 or 2 words. We are talking about 9 fighters at a time.
Okay. Chris Weidman, pretty obvious. TJ Dillashaw for his fantastic upset victory. Benson Henderson.
Way more than 2 words.
Oh, you are just piling on the words, Ben Cohn. I'm drowning here.
Benson Henderson for showing that he's still at the top and keeping so active. Johnny Hendricks, Demetrius Johnson, Fabricio Verdum, I'm sorry, Luke, but Ronda Rousey, Matt Brown, and Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Dan, who are you trotting out, and why could they actually hit better than the Texas Rangers right now?
We're behind the Houston Astros right now.
Don't bring that up, Josh. All right, we're rebuilding. We're rebuilding.
The 4th highest payroll in baseball?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just went 3 champions, not to oversaturate it. Those were Ronda Rousey, TJ Dillashaw, and Johnny Hendricks. I also went with a few guys that fortify themselves as new contenders, legitimate contenders once again. Luke Rockhold and Rory McDonald, and hell, Anthony Johnson came back, and now he's a legitimate UFC light heavyweight. Also going to World Series of Fighting. Give some love to Justin Gaethje with 2 entertaining finishes. Donald Cerrone, also he's about to fight tomorrow. He has 2 very highlight reel worthy wins to his own. And every All-Star team needs their own questionable All-Star, a Josh Harrison, I guess you could say. And mine would be Daniel Weichel. He won the Bellator featherweight tournament, and he'll probably get a title shot in 2018.
That's about right. Earl?
Batting leadoff, I have Demetrius Johnson, followed by TJ Dillashaw, Fabricio Verdum, the adorable Brendan Schaub to hit them all home with a hilarious Grand Slam quip. Luke Rockhold, Ronda Rousey, Anthony Johnson, Benson Henderson, and Johnson.
Josh?
Okay, I went a little off the MMA board with a couple of mine, but
Good.
Can I even put them in positions like we're playing baseball?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Find yourself your own Jose Altuve.
Let's see if I can give everybody a position to make this work. Okay, at catcher, DC. At first base, we're putting Rico Verhoeven. Second base, TJ Dillashaw. At short, he can do everything, so I assume Chris Weidman can handle the position. At third, Gokhan Saki. Center field, we've got Demetrius Johnson.
Saki is built like Ken Caminiti.
Right field, we've got Johnny Hendricks with his cannon arm. And in center, he's done everything this year, so I think he can do this too. Our team 11.
That's nice. My starting 9 that I'm trotting out: Artem Levin, Chris Algieri, is the world champion, beat Ruslan Provodnikov. Arthur Abraham, having a career resurgence and is a super middleweight champion right now, beat Robert Stiglitz. TJ Dillashaw, Justin Gaethje, Kevin Ross is 4-0 this year in lion fight. Donald Cerrone, Luke Rockhold, Rory McDonald, and even though one stoppage was bullshit, I cannot let my personal bias dictate it. Ronda Rousey is my first man off the bench, and she's going to face Aroldis Chapman, and he's going to throw at her head.
She was pitching for my softball team, if I meant the full
It's a big
compliment.
Nolan?
And everybody's coming all in here prepared and shit, and I'm coming in like the Texas Rangers manager, just throwing a lineup together. Start of the day here.
You're coming in coked up?
I wish. I
Kinda.
mean, Ronda Rousey. Just going through a select list of champions: Ronda Rousey, Chris Weidman, Mighty Mouse. John Jones gets on there for me just because it continue a reign of dominance. Rico Verhoeven gets on there for me. Floyd Mayweather, Guillermo Rigondeaux. I'm gonna give one to Crawford, just by beating Gamboa and solidifying his name as a top guy in boxing. And I guess Verdum.
Marcos Maidana.
Never heard of him. No. Verdum. For getting the shot at Velasquez.
Man. Terrence Crawford's a good. And he beat Ricky Burns and Gamboa in 2014. That's a good pick. Also, on a scale of 1 to 500, how wonderful was Floyd Mayweather's comment about Ronda Rousey today?
10,000.
It's
Yes.
over 9,000.
In case you missed it,
I'll give it a solid 420 out of 500.
Can we get everybody's comments on that for real? That needs to be talked about.
It was disrespectful.
just in case those are not filled in, when asked about Ronda Rousey, Floyd responded with, "Who's he?"
It's the perfect response. It really
Money
is.
Mayweather's back, baby.
Because you
Time.
know for a fact people have brought up Dana said that Ronda Rousey. For sure he's heard it, so it's really the perfect response.
No, it was just perfect
I-
trolling. It really was. Sometimes you have to commend proper trolling. And
I don't think he knows who she is.
No, he does, because
Like, quite honestly, though, I mean, anybody who shows up to Floyd Mayweather and brings up Ronda Rousey in any sort of serious form deserves to be bitch slapped with a gigantic wad of $100 bills by Floyd and 50 Cent, because, like, you gotta be shitting me with that.
And it was perfect because what I like about it is, that just made Ronda's fucking blood boil. Ronda is the exact opposite of let it roll off your back. Just let it go. No, she has to be in utter just screeching fury.
there's going to be some great reactions from her part. It's going to be glorious.
I hope she drops the racial slur more than I want anything else on this earth. Is I want Ronda to slip up.
Ronda's not. I don't think Ronda's racist in the least. She has plenty of personality flaws, but that doesn't happen to be one of them.
No, I know. I don't think she's racist. But
Does she have black friends, Josh Hall?
No, I don't think Ronda's racist.
Probably.
I don't think Ronda's racist, but I think she has the capability of getting so mad that she will just look for anything and just accidentally let something slip, and that will be a good day.
She
She doesn't
know
hate
who
Floyd
Floyd
anywhere
is.
near the level she hates Misha, though, and she didn't let anything that was
Well, you
over the line to that level fly at her. I'm sure she thought about it a few times, though.
How could you make fun of Misha for anything racial or ethnic? She's not black or Hispanic.
That,
Well, because her name is Misha Tate.
It's racist, man.
It's the blackest name I've ever
But it
heard.
won't be racist.
what's next on the docket here, Luke?
No, okay, but no, like I said, but that's why you can say things you don't. When you're that angry, you can say things you don't mean or believe. And like I said, I think one day where her neurons won't be able to connect in time, gonna fly that plane, Hulk Hogan, into the ground.
I said something about priorities once to my significant other when I was heated.
Yeah.
So
Priorities in and of itself cannot be gay. They're not. They don't have a sexual preference. But Earl still told his wife that her priorities were in fact homosexual. See, it's not true. It's a metaphysical impossibility. But you know what? When you're a little steamed, pardon my language, you can kind of say things that don't necessarily compute.
My parents do the
in the
same
big
thing.
world.
My parents do the same thing. They joke around. They're angry, move out of the house and stuff like that. But it's just all a joke.
Stop.
Maybe you'd move out of Undercard Superstar, Dan.
They say
Stop
things
running
like what a pathetic failure. Would you please wake up? Quit taking 4-hour naps. They're just joshing.
Stop running around bottomless around the maid.
Stop trying to coerce a sexual harassment lawsuit from the maid.
Exactly. Stop it, guys. Say something
Stop trying to seduce Isabella. Dateline, Atlantic City, New Jersey. By the way, Isabella is also a very pretty name. Dateline, Atlantic City, New Jersey. We have By God fights tomorrow. By God. And John Lineker came in today at a svelte what, Nolan?
125.5 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal.
Still not ready for that title fight, though.
Certainly not, nor will he ever be. Some quick predictions here on Wednesdays, and then we'll move over to Saturday's card. Donald Cerrone and Jim Miller give me a winner and a method of victory. We will go now right to left. Nolan Howell.
I gotta think Donald Cerrone takes a decision. I could definitely see a finish in the later rounds there, considering Jim Miller's kind of taking a step back in his last few. But Donald Cerrone by decision seems to be the safe pick.
These two are absolutely a fantastic matchup because their styles are so unbelievably similar. They're both great Muay Thai fighters. Cerrone probably has the edge in the striking, but Jim might have actually kind of maybe a little more power in his hands. And when it gets to the ground, they're both very, very, very slick submission guys. I don't think either one can hurt the other one enough on the feet. I mean, Cerrone can be his lights can be turned out when needed, or his liver can be turned out. But I don't think Miller has quite the striking acumen to do something like that to a veteran like Cerrone. I think it's a very entertaining fight. I think it does go the distance, and I think that either a very close or split decision, we will see Cerrone take it. Josh?
I think that Miller's unfortunately on the decline right now fairly heavily, and I think that Cerrone's going to be an awful matchup for him. I think that he works him over really efficiently in the first couple of rounds with body kicks before he finishes him third round TKO.
Earl?
Yeah, I think Cerrone's, while I wouldn't say he's like climbing the ladder necessarily right now, but he's definitely not on this downslope of his career as Jim Miller seems to be. I think Donald can, whoop his legs a little bit and then maybe get him down to the ground and drop a submission on him in round 2.
I had to whip his legs.
I think we have one another. Donald Cerrone is the better fighter, but in the context of this matchup, I favor Miller slightly just because Donald Cerrone has left, prior to the Edson Barboza finish, he was kind of losing that fight, and even against Adriano Martins for the 2 minutes that lasted, he wasn't super dominant. So maybe Jim Miller, if he survives, he can grind out a decision. But Josh, Nolan, and Earl all brought up good points in that he's in that Pat Healy fight and the Benson Henderson fight, he really looked like he was declining. So maybe we'll see that kind of performance. But I slightly favor Jim Miller.
Ben?
We're talking about just that one fight.
Miller.
Okay. I was sorry, by the way, I wasn't able to get a breakdown. I had a hard time getting the fights to watch it, but I couldn't get a breakdown.
It's not okay, Ben. So
I love you too, Dan. But the fight's actually really interesting to me because, as I heard Dan mention, Cerrone seems to be a bit on the decline, and Miller's kind of also seems on a bit of a decline. They both have a tendency to let fighters that should not be competitive with them be competitive with them. And that's what makes it interesting because they're both willing to go and just go at it with each other, and that can make for a will make for a fun fight. I don't see this being anything but extremely fun. The difference between the guys who give each fighter problems is that Cerrone has problems with guys who can hurt him standing. On the ground, I have no problems with him. I think he can hang with Jim on the ground. I think we've seen Jim is an incredible black belt, but Cerrone is incredibly crafty off his back. I'm not worried about him off his back. The issue is with her, he'll let Jim push him forward, and that's exactly what Jim Miller does. That's what Jim Miller does every fight. He pushes forward, and we've seen Cerrone has trouble against guys who push him forward like that. So what I see is Jim Miller pushing him forward over the first round, dominating the first round, and then as he seems to be getting tired more often recently. So if he tires in the second round, I see Cerrone making a comeback. If not, I would say it's going to go third round TKO for Jim Miller.
Breaking news in the MMA landscape. UFC 177, Dillashaw vs. Barao 2 has its co-main. It is a flyweight title fight between Demetrius Johnson and Chris Carriasso.
Yes. This is what I wanted to pay $45 for.
So let's get into this real quick. Why the need to? Carriasso had a fight scheduled in August against Kyoji Horiguchi. I mean, if he would have won that, then I could see. I mean, Carriasso does have wins in his last 3, but not over anybody spectacular at all. Why do you think this was? Why do you think this was made? This can be up to no order here. This can be up to anybody.
I mean, really, everyone else is occupied right now, flat out. Like, you know, okay. I'm sorry. Dodson's injury blew this whole thing out of the water because Dodson would have been Dodson and Mighty Mouse would have been fantastic as a co-main. But Benavidez has dropped his last 2 against DJ. Juicy Formiga and John Lineker booked and fighting tomorrow and making weight apparently. So there's really just nobody left at this point. It's just like Carriasso is a warm body essentially.
I think the reason this fight was made was because they looked at what just happened, and the last thing they want is that main event to get canceled a weekend and have to cancel a second event. So they put on a championship fight that, granted, is really awful and probably would garner lower buy rates than UFC 174, as scary as that might sound. So it's not the best plan, but I think it's like a backup plan just to ensure they don't cancel a second pay-per-view, because that would be so awful. This fight, really, I want to see the odds in this one. I don't know why they put Carriasso in there. I think you have 2 flyweight fights coming up this particular week with John Lineker and Ian McCall. And not that these guys are worthy challengers at all, but they make more sense because Carriasso had a fight booked. But Lineker versus McCall tomorrow, maybe the winner there, or on Saturday you had Brad Pickett fighting on Fight Pass. So all 10,000 people that see that fight could get really invested in Brad Pickett. But
10,000 success.
Yeah, well, when Invicta comes, you'll have 500 or so thousand people watching. But until then, I think those fights make more sense than Carriasso. I don't know, guys.
Don't try to justify it. Just accept that the UFC made it. The UFC just isn't doing things right, and they're using the gold as an excuse to get people to buy, which some people will buy into. But as Mighty Mouse proved in his last pay-per-view, not enough people. Under 100K, almost, allegedly. And just because you're adding the flyweight title to a main evented card that has the bantamweight title on the line, I can't say that it's going to do a lot of buys. Maybe.
But if you combine the 2, it's like a heavyweight title fight.
It's like Lesnar-Carwin too, basically.
It adds up. It adds up.
Just do a tag team match, man.
I mean, I didn't know. What was nice about 176 getting dissolved was that I thought it would make the otherwise crappy cards that they had, later this summer actually give a little bit of a boost to. I didn't think they'd go out and start just adding title fights all willy-nilly.
And I'm wondering if they're going to try to pull the same crap where it's UFC 177 2 title fights, and then your third fight down is Marcus Brimage returning against.
The third fight down right now is not good at all.
It should be Jacare versus Souza. That's what they should have done. Moved it to that
Jacare
event.
versus Souza. Yes, that's
Jacare versus
Souza.
I would pay to see Jacare Souza fight himself.
Let my American exceptionalism pronounce the name.
Jacare fights an actual alligator.
Will Muschamp referee. I'm down for that.
That could be on the same card as Herschel versus Walker.
That
Can
one
I
has a
make-
legitimate chance of happening, though.
Can
You
I
see
make
that
a mention?
he has multiple personality disorder.
Can I make a quick mention back to Wednesday's card?
Absolutely not.
Just how stupid it is that Claudia Gadelha, in the first ever women's strawweight fight, is fighting on Fight Pass. That makes no sense to me.
They're saving all the hot fighters, all the hot Ultimate Fighter fighters, probably for the for the main card. They probably want to, or they just want to have kind of a feeling out process to see.
Luke, Justin
before
Salas is fighting Joe Proctor on the main card.
All
They
right.
have the
how the-
first ever fight in division history on Fight Pass with a fighter that's going to contend for the title. Who the hell is making these decisions? Who's making that decision?
The UFC marketing machine's been dead for 2 years, and people think it's gonna come back like the second coming of Jesus. Come on.
I just think they're kind of burying Gadelha now so they can make room for all the the hot names that are sure to emerge from Tough 20. Even though Gadelha is better than probably all but 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
As of right now, guys, the number 3 fight on 177 is your choice of either Lorenz Larkin versus Derek Brunson, or
2 guys coming off a loss.
or soon-to-be title fight Betch Correa versus Shayna Baszler.
What did you see? Betch Correa like that? She should be fighting.
I am gonna walk to the Sleep Train Center for that one.
I will too.
If I leave now.
I'll
we'll
walk
do
in
that.
front of a sleep train before I watch that card.
By the way, social media pioneer Ben Cohn had a tweet favorited by potatoes.
Breaking news.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand how that happened.
They just searched for people talking about potatoes, and they saw you talked about potatoes, and
Ben-
they favorited it.
But it
Ben
wasn't
has
even
some
like
weird-
regular potatoes. It was mashed potatoes. It wasn't.
Ben has some sort of
Well, you
weird
see that mashed
hunger.
potatoes have potatoes in them?
No. Thank you. I'm aware of this.
Some say potatoes are getting mashed to this day.
It happens. Ben, it happens to the best of us. I once wrote a tweet that had the word pooping in it, and I got favorited by pooping. Like things.
This is how you get
Things
your name
happen.
out there, Ben. You got to be big in the potato community.
The starches love you, Ben.
Dude, that fucking account has, I think, like 9 followers.
That's 9 too many.
Cauliflower's next,
3
Ben Cohn.
followers.
They have 4 now.
Maybe
They tweet about
Oh my
potatoes in a
God.
bunch of different languages.
Have any of you seen the new advertisement for Dillashaw Real 2? Oh god, it's so bad.
it's terrible.
Never
just like,
trust the odds. That's their tagline.
Does it involve you and May? May and you?
Never trust the
No,
odds.
It's not that bad, but the tagline is never trust the odds. That's it.
Nolan, I think you have a phone call to make then.
They were right!
Oh my god.
In the co-main event, on the New Jersey card, Edson Barboza against Evan Dunham. We will start from the right this time. Nolan?
yeah, we started from the right last time, but okay. Edson Barboza is gonna
I'm a
win
right kind of
this.
guy.
But Edson Barboza by first round knockout. Dunham's too slow and too plotting for Barboza. So
Dunham is 1-3 in his last 4, with a very, very close win, being the only one there. He doesn't look good lately. This is pretty bad matchmaking. Barboza's too sharp, and he's not going to get taken down to the ground and submitted like Cerrone did to him. Barboza takes his probably. Dunham's a tough dude, but when Barboza turns it on, very few people can withstand it. I'll give him a second round TKO.
Barboza wasn't taken down by Cerrone. He got knocked down.
Yeah.
Knock you down. Josh?
I'm actually going to go the contrarian role on this one. I think that Dunham is actually going to pull the upset here. He can do the things that Barboza struggles with. And he's lost 3 of his last 4, but he was in a very, very good, close, tough fight with TJ Grant, who's one of the elite in the division, despite his concussion problem that's gone on for almost 2 years now. He was in a close fight with Rafael dos Anjos. He's been fighting the elite in the division in close fights, aside from the Cerrone one, and I think that he actually is going to grind out a decision over Barboza here.
you know, if only we would have gone the other way, I could have been the first contrarian here, because I'm also taking Evan Dunham in this fight, because I think that he can really ugly up a fight and make it look really bad. And Barboza is really on his game when he can dictate the pace and dictate the style of the fight, and be flashy and do what he does. But I just don't think Dunham's going to give him the space to do it. Since apparently, as it turns out, Edson Barboza went to the plastic surgeon and got the Brendan Schaub chin implant. He really is getting dropped by jabs. He's not doing anything that great at all to speak of when it comes to defense. And I think Dunham's got enough to just swarm him and make it a really ugly, brutal, kind of hard to watch fight. But I think it's enough to get a decision.
Yeah, Earl and Josh make good points, and that's kind of why I was thinking about taking Dunham. Just that Barboza always worries me when he goes up against a fighter that doesn't want to stand up and fight him. Like if he goes up against a guy like Dunham, who has that foundation of wrestling or a clinch game, he can potentially make the fight an ugly fight, like Earl said. But I just, as a 34-year-old, I think Dunham may be a bit past his prime, and I think Barboza, at one point or another in that 3-round fight, will catch him with something. They'll finish him. So Barboza's my pick.
Ben?
Barboza's going to win this. It's a 3-round fight, and Dunham historically essentially just gives a... Round 1 is automatically going to Barboza if he doesn't finish him, because that's just the way Evan Dunham fights. Round 2 is when he starts to turn it up. He gets beat up the first round. Barboza has good cardio, so he's not going to get tired. His defensive wrestling is good enough to stop Dunham's takedowns, which are eh. And while his grappling is really slick, he's not exactly he's not as good as grappling as Donald Cerrone. He's not a great grappler. He's not a really, really great grappler. He's not a good wrestler. He's okay. He hasn't honestly looked great or like the prospect we thought he was since his loss to Sean Sharp. I don't think he has the power to also really, really hurt Barboza on the feet either. So I see Barboza getting a second round TKO, leg kicks.
This Saturday at 3 o'clock, have a pint of the black fella. We are coming from the O2 in Dublin, Ireland. The main event, Connor, I'm certainly not a douche, McGregor, takes on Diego, I'll cut you with a fork essay, Brandao, in the main event of the evening. Left to right now, Benjamin, McGregor or Brandao, the jerk against the I'll cut you.
McGregor, based on the fact that he's not completely, utterly batshit.
All right. Dan?
Brandao's key to victory is not losing. Other than that, I expect McGregor to win this fight.
It's really quite perfect. Brando has too much against him, going against him in this fight. 1, he's fighting Conor McGregor. 2, it's in Ireland. 3, he's a certified moron. And this is undoubtedly just a showcase fight for Conor McGregor that no one will watch, and hopefully this will usher him into the upper echelon of the division where he can get his shit pushed in really, really nice.
Who do you want to see him lose to in the upper part of the division?
Everyone.
Oh.
Who gets him first? Are we going to start from the top and just go on down?
Frankie Edgar.
Yeah, he's not going to destroy him because he most likely wouldn't. Anyway,
Propel him right to a title shot. What the heck?
Swanson, have him lose his title shot, then he could beat up Conor McGregor.
All right, next up. I forgot if it was Earl or Josh.
Josh.
Conor McGregor, and I couldn't care a whole lot less about this fight.
This fight's going to suck. Cutting McGregor will get the decision, but it certainly isn't going to blow anyone's doors off.
You don't think he'll finish Brandao?
No.
He's really got a chin and a really bad gas tank.
Yeah, Brandau's gas tank's good for about maybe 7 minutes in a good fight.
That's when he really paces himself, too.
That's why I said in a good fight.
Yeah, but then again, McGregor isn't exactly a paragon of cardio coming off of this long of a layoff.
Yeah, he's handled Max Holloway on one leg, though, fairly easily and didn't gas there. So I'll give him that much credit.
That was 3 rounds, though. Nonetheless, I expect this one to be ugly. It's going to go the distance. McGregor will win. No one will be impressed, and Dana will take him for a celebratory lap in his Ferrari again. Nolan?
Conor McGregor by brogue kick, fella.
Oh, lots of pints of the black. And the only other fight that really matters to any substantive length, Brad Pickett and Ian McCall in the flyweight division. Nolan?
Brad Pickett, because Ian McCall's not very good at fighting, as it turns out. So there's that.
Pickett's going to box him up pretty good. I'd rather see that one for 5 rounds than Brandao and McGregor. But tis what tis, and I think, yeah, Pickett's going to box him up pretty good for a wide decision with a complimentary 10-8 thrown in there by the weight staff.
I'm actually leaning towards McCall in this fight. Not really cheering for him, but McCall's got some very legitimate wins at 125, and Pickett looks like he's been declining as of late. So I'm going to take Creepy by decision.
I think Ian McCall's only win in 2 years is over Olarte Santos.
He's fought insane competition at 125.
And he took Demetrius Johnson to what should have been a draw if they did not have a stake in the judging, and then what should have been a sudden victory round.
Yeah, fair enough.
Earl?
I hope it's Pickett. Even though Ian McCall has a model girlfriend and he's trying to get into the fashion industry.
He's big in the fashion industry.
And he has really artsy, fartsy photographs that he signs for his alleged fans. I'm going to go with Pickett on a hope and a prayer.
I believe in Ian McCall and his girlfriend's modeling career, so I'll select McCall. I think he takes it down. I think he uses his jiu-jitsu, but if it stays up, I think Brad Pickett's got the big advantage there.
You mean you believe?
No.
Ben?
No.
Big Dan?
I mean, there's not much to say. There isn't anything to say.
Potatoes is listening, Ben.
Yeah, come on.
You have the ear of potatoes.
Fuck potatoes. They stand for. Fuck it. You know what? I'm tweeting back at potatoes.
You know, this card's in Ireland, Ben. You better watch your mouth about potatoes.
Yeah. If you know what you're doing.
Or else they'll disappear for a couple of years.
We're 150 years removed from the freaking famine. We're okay. All right. I think they've got.
You're in the middle of the famine right now. What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, it's over.
Racist, Ben.
Just told you I'm eating.
Ben, listen. No need to denigrate someone's culture, okay? Listen, we're not that kind of show.
Yeah.
This is for children only.
Ben,
So, Pickett or McCall, or what are we doing here?
I want Pickett to win simply because the fact
Ben,
that
your face is entirely too close to the camera.
I didn't realize I want Pickett.
You're frightening potatoes.
I tweeted them. Fuck potatoes. I want
I
to win simply because
them.
it could potentially be the fight that
Potatoes.
I want Pickett to win because if Pickett wins, he has that old win over Johnson. So they could possibly hype that up nicely. He's always fun, and he's a lot older, so if he's going to make a run at the title, it needs to be now.
Bravo for whoever gave Ben a laugh track.
Oh, that was me walking into the living room. It worked out perfectly.
All right. Fights tomorrow, fights Saturday. We'll be back on Tuesday to recap all the pints of black that we drank. So we will see you then Tuesday, 9 o'clock, only on YouTube. Undercard Supercast signing off. War potatoes.
Fun rally.